Now, the governing MPP party MPs had last week taken the unprecedented step of holding a press conference demanding that their president sacks his finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, and Minister of State in charge of the finance ministry, Charles Eduboahin. They blamed the two gentlemen for the country's current economic crisis. Now, you had the MP for Asante North, Andy Appiah-Kubi, who is also the public face for the majority group of MPs, demanding the sacking of the finance minister, disclosing that the businessman offered money when they met him in Parliament there. Now, we'll keep tabs on this particular story. But moving on to other stories. In 2017, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo had the vision to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa by 2020. The vision changed the end of 2024 when Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapa addressed the media in 2019. 6 years into the president's promise to make Accra the cleanest city, the coalition of NGOs in water and sanitation is not impressed with the work done so far. Jojo Kobina has more in this edition of JoyNews Tracker.
By the end of the 4 years of my term in office as president, Accra will be the cleanest city in Africa.
It was a promise that gave the country hope. To sanitation watchers, it was a right signal to residents to keep the environment clean. For many years, the city of Accra has been infamous for its filth. Streets, markets and drains are adorned with filth. The bad sanitation in the city is a major contributor to perennial flooding that costs the lives of many. To show greater commitment and reverse this worrying trend, President Akufo-Addo launched a national sanitation campaign and laid out a plan to attain the promise to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa.
This comprehensive program will include the establishment of a National Sanitation Authority and the establishment of a dedicated sanitation fund to help make our nation clean. Successive Ghanaian governments have tried to reverse this trend and inculcate a habit of greater discipline in the care of our surroundings. It has not succeeded. My government intends to make a fresh start.
But along the line, the story changed.
The president actually meant it when he made the promise, and you could see the genuineness of it. But he lacked the backing of his ministers, who was speaking one thing when the president was speaking another thing. The ministry officially started shifting statements that, oh, the president didn't mean the first term. The president actually meant his tenure in office. And he also lacked the cooperation of his Minister of Finance to actually put in the budget that should go with the promise.
In 2019, Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapa realized that the promise could not be achieved, extended the deadline to 2024.
Inshallah, the president will go for 2 terms, and at the end, Accra would have been, and we are on course. God is in control, and the battle is still the Lord's. And to tell you that His Excellency the President is so serious with this call to all of us to make Accra the cleanest city.
6 years down the line, the zeal to clean up Accra has waned. A council member of the coalition of NGOs in water and sanitation, is disappointed.
It was almost as if the launching of the national sanitation campaign was to announce the end of the desire or the willingness of the government to pursue the clean city agenda.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate government's performance in terms of the promise to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa?
I'll give 1. First and foremost, the preparatory agenda that should have put us on track to pursue it was never put in place. That's number 1. Government will tell you they establish marshals, but it's all talk. There's nothing on the ground.
Filth is threatening to swallow residents of Choko, located in southwestern part of Accra. The community is infamous for its mark-covered coast. Heaps of refuse border the coastline, completely fused with the sand, spilling over onto the surface of murky water that abuses the sight and smell of the bypasser. Pigs, cats, dogs snuggle in the filth while people go about their daily business in the presence of this growing menace, completely accustomed to its sight and stench. Residents agree that they cannot continue to live in filth, but do not know how to bring every resident on board the vision to make their community clean.
Bola jinle onka akeba mechini eyino awo be menme poshan bola be amba bo na fa na ba me nche wo tefi ote wo mami me kame ame wo bola me fon awo fa asan bi egbe po fa na bola to mo 6 ama bi konika ba chi asu esan na yo shika ke yino ake ya ami MPP very seriously they are fun akufo do face slow to the side and mo fe no choose mo man ni eteshini freedom of everything.
Mrs. Anita Bill is a fishmonger in Choko. She explains that although some residents do their best to clean their environment and avoid indiscriminate pollution, many more residents litter with impunity because there is no consequence to littering. Some residents have a solution. They want the government to arrest polluters to serve as a deterrent to the larger population. But there is another problem here. Waste containers are not emptied as often as they should, so filth always overflows. Just along the Chamwena are these waste containers, but residents say they are not permitted to dump rubbish into them.
I'm founded by the government. She like I'm a back off here. Won't bend to Korean. They can bend to Korean. Back Kenya. She got the BNF owner come put back a machine. I can machine. Kaka come put machine. Like Chibola show pay 50% or I pay. Power. I guess sanitation won't be more force a community. More family or community at one answer.
This report was put together by Jojo Kobna and Ifwa Adezewa there. Now, let's speak to a WASH activist, Ben Lati, on the president's ambition to make Accra the cleanest city. Ben, thank you for joining us. What's your assessment of how far the president has come in making Accra the cleanest city? Ben, I'm grateful that you could join us.
Hello.
What's your assessment of the president's ambition to make Accra the cleanest city?
Well, I think that my assessment first is the fact that there must always be an intention for something to be done. And it was a good policy for a government to come out and say that I want the city of Accra to be clean by the end of my term of office. And it's a welcome message. I have 3 questions to whoever is supporting the president in achieving the cleanest city in Accra. First and foremost, if you want to achieve something, it means that you have to put in a plan. And when you have a plan, there must be a budget. And when you have a budget, you must ensure that it is implemented. So far as the government has said this, none of us can put their finger at whatever not the plan of cleaning, making Accra a city of Accra is. And if it is, who knows it and what is involved and who is responsible, how is it going to be done, and when can some of you, even per your previous interviews you played just before this message, show that what the president has said has been taken into effect. Let me give you a practical example of where Accra, the president's vision was coming to light. Was when the Greater Accra minister declared Operation Clean Your Frontage. And it is an assumed that if even every household or every institution in the whole of Accra, granted all the institutions and every house or frontage town in Accra has implemented the Operation Clean Your Frontage, all the comments said or having the interviews given by your previous people on this list will not have been the issue. My third issue is the fact that are there agencies responsible to ensure that this is done? And if they are, why have they slept on the job all to this time for a president to come and tell you, let this be possible? And for how many years would it need a president to come to say that I want to make the city of Accra clean? That is not the responsibility of the president. It's
All
the
right.
responsibility of an institution.
Ben, I'm grateful that you could join us. We have more on this particular story on our midday news at 12. So join us for more on that particular story.